Have you ever looked at your cat and thought, "I love you so much," while they quietly pulled away? Not dramatically, not aggressively, just a subtle shift, a slight turn of the head, a flick of the tail, almost like something felt off. Here's the uncomfortable truth most cat owners never hear. Some of the things you do every single day, the things that feel loving, harmless, even cute, are actually stressing your cat out, not in an obvious way, not in a way that makes them lash out or run away, but in a quiet, slow, almost invisible way that chips away at their trust. And the scariest part? Your cat won't tell you. They'll still sit near you, still follow you around, still sleep in the same room. But something changes beneath the surface. The connection weakens. The sense of safety fades just a little more each day. This video is about those small things, the ones no one talks about. The ones that don't look like mistakes, but feel like threats to your cat. Once you see them, you won't be able to unsee them, and the way you interact with your cat will never be the same again. So if you really care about your cat, not just loving them, but truly understanding them, you might want to stay with me until the end. Because the first mistake, almost everyone is doing it, right to their cat's face. Number 1. You're breaking your cat's sense of safety. Let me ask you something. Have you ever leaned in, looked at your cat, and kissed them right on the nose, thinking, "This is love"? And then they blink, turn their head, maybe even pull away just a little. It's easy to miss. But in that moment, your cat isn't feeling loved. They're feeling overwhelmed. A cat's face is their most sensitive space. Their nose alone is packed with millions of scent receptors, constantly reading the world in a way we can't even imagine. When you bring your face close, your breath, your smell, your movement, it hits them all at once. Not gently, intensely. To you, it's affection. To them, it can feel like pressure. I once had a friend who couldn't understand why her cat slowly stopped sitting on her lap. She said, "I give him so much love." And she did. Constant kisses, picking him up, rubbing his belly even when he twitched. She thought she was bonding, but her cat started choosing the far end of the couch instead. Not because he didn't love her, but because he no longer felt safe in those close moments. And here's the thing most people don't realize. Cats don't build trust through intensity. They build it through respect. When you force contact, when you touch their belly without invitation, when you hold them just a little longer than they want, you're not creating closeness. You're teaching them that being near you comes with discomfort. So they adapt. They stay close, but not too close. They accept your presence, but stay alert. And slowly, the space between you grows, even if you don't notice it right away. Real connection with a cat is quiet. It's subtle. It's choosing to let them come to you, instead of reaching for them every time. Because the moment your cat feels truly safe around you, everything changes. But safety isn't just about touch. It's also about the invisible rhythms you interrupt, without even realizing it. Number 2, you're disrupting their natural biology. Picture this. Your cat is curled up in a deep, peaceful sleep, completely still, breathing slow, safe. And then, you tap them. Call their name. Maybe even pick them up because they look too cute to ignore. They wake up, blink, stretch. But something in that moment gets interrupted. And here's the part most people don't realize. Cats aren't just sleeping a lot. They're cycling through very specific biological rhythms that regulate everything, from their immune system to their stress levels to their mood. When you wake them up randomly, especially during deep sleep, you're not just interrupting rest. You're interrupting a system that keeps them balanced. I remember someone telling me, "My cat sleeps all day, so I try to keep him active." So she'd wake him up, move him, play with him whenever she felt like it. At first, it seemed fine. But over time, the cat became more irritable, less playful, more withdrawn, not because he didn't want attention, but because his internal rhythm was constantly being thrown off. And it doesn't stop there. Feeding at inconsistent times, loud TV noise in the background, sudden bursts of sound, these things might feel normal to you. But to your cat, they create a world that feels unpredictable. And unpredictability to a cat means one thing: stress. Cats are wired to expect patterns. They feel safe when life follows a rhythm they can understand. When meals come at random times, when noise spikes out of nowhere, when their sleep is constantly interrupted, their body stays in a low-level state of alert. Not enough to panic, but enough to slowly wear them down. You might not see it immediately, but it shows up in small ways. Less patience, less curiosity, less joy, because their body never fully relaxes. Here's the shift. Instead of asking, "What do I want right now?" start asking, "What does my cat's body need?" Because when you align with their natural rhythm, when you let them sleep deeply, eat predictably, and exist in a stable environment, something changes. They soften. They trust the world again. And once that happens, you'll start to see a completely different side of your cat. Number 3. You're accidentally teaching bad behavior. Let me paint you a familiar scene. Your cat jumps on you while you're sitting on the couch, starts nibbling your fingers, maybe even grabs your hand with both paws and kicks it like it's prey. You laugh. It's cute. You wiggle your fingers more. And in that moment, without realizing it, you've just started training your cat. Because to them, this isn't affection. It's a game. And not just any game. A hunting simulation. Your hands become the target. The thing to chase, bite, and attack. And every time you allow it, every time you play along, you're reinforcing a pattern that will come back later in ways you won't enjoy. Suddenly, your playful kitten becomes a cat that bites too hard, scratches unexpectedly, attacks your feet under the blanket at night. And you think, why is my cat like this? But here's the uncomfortable truth. They didn't become that way on their own. They learned it from you. I once knew someone who complained constantly about her cat being aggressive. But when you watched how she interacted, it all made sense. She used her hands for play. She fed the cat immediately after it meowed loudly. Sometimes she ignored the behavior. Sometimes she rewarded it. From the cat's perspective, the rules were constantly changing. And when rules are inconsistent, behavior becomes chaotic. Cats don't misbehave out of spite. They follow patterns that get results. If biting your hand gets attention, they'll bite. If meowing loudly gets food faster, they'll escalate. If sometimes jumping on the counter gets ignored and other times gets rewarded, they'll keep trying. Not because they're stubborn, but because they're learning. Here's where it shifts. Your cat is always studying you. Every reaction, every movement, every small habit you repeat becomes part of the system they adapt to. So when behavior starts to feel wrong, it's often just a reflection of mixed signals. The moment you become consistent, clear, and intentional with how you respond, your cat begins to change too. Because you're not just living with your cat, you're shaping them every single day. And what you shape next depends on something even more powerful than habits: the emotions you bring into those moments. Number 4, you're replacing trust with fear. There's a moment that happens in many homes and it feels small. Your cat knocks something over, jumps somewhere they shouldn't, scratches the couch, and without thinking, you raise your voice. Hey! Or maybe you grab the spray bottle. A quick mist, just to teach them. In your mind, it's correction, discipline, a way to set boundaries. But in your cat's world, something very different just happened. They didn't learn what you wanted. They learned that you can become unpredictable. I once visited someone who said their cat only behaves when I'm strict, but the moment she stood up too quickly, the cat ran. Not playfully, not curiously, fearfully. It would hide under the bed, watching her from a distance, eyes wide, body low. That's not respect, that's survival. Cats don't connect punishment to behavior the way we think they do. They don't sit there and reflect, oh, I shouldn't have jumped on that shelf. They connect it to you, your voice, your presence, your energy. So instead of learning, don't do this, they learn something much deeper. Be careful around this human. And every time that happens, even in small ways, a piece of trust gets replaced by caution. You might still see affection. They might still come near you. But there's a subtle shift. They hesitate. They watch you more closely. They think twice before relaxing completely in your presence. And here's where it gets even more important. Punishing behaviors like marking or scratching doesn't remove the cause. It adds fear on top of it, stress on top of stress. So the behavior often gets worse, just hidden better. The real change happens when you stop trying to control through fear and start guiding through understanding. Redirect instead of punish. Create safe alternatives instead of forcing restraint. Lower your voice instead of raising it. Because when your cat feels safe enough to make mistakes around you, that's when real trust begins. And once that trust is shaken, even slightly, it changes how your cat experiences everything around them, including the place they're supposed to feel safest, your home. Number 5, your home might be quietly stressing or harming them. Let's zoom out for a second. Not on what you do, but on where your cat lives. Because here's something most people never question. What if your home, the place you believe is safe and comfortable, feels overwhelming to your cat? Not in a dramatic way, not in a way that's obvious, but in small, constant, almost invisible ways. Think about the background noise, the TV playing for hours, sudden volume spikes, random sounds from phones, speakers, appliances. To you, it fades into the background. To your cat, it never fully disappears. Their hearing is far more sensitive than yours. Every sharp sound lands harder. Every unpredictable noise keeps their body slightly alert. Now add something even less obvious. Scent. You light a candle. Use essential oils. Spray a fragrance because it smells clean or relaxing. But your cat's world is built on scent. What feels calming to you can feel overwhelming, even toxic to them. Some essential oils like tea tree or eucalyptus aren't just unpleasant. They can be harmful, and your cat can't tell you that. They just start avoiding certain areas, acting restless, sleeping less deeply. I remember someone who couldn't understand why her cat stopped using the litter box. She tried everything, different litter, cleaning more often, even moving the box once or twice. Nothing worked, until she realized the box was covered and placed near a noisy washing machine. Imagine trying to use the bathroom in a small enclosed space while loud vibrations and sudden sounds hit you from all sides. The cat wasn't being difficult. The environment was, and that's the shift. Cats don't just live in your home, they experience it differently. Windows without proper safety, food and water placed in high-traffic areas, litter boxes in stressful locations. Even the absence of quiet, elevated spaces where they can observe without being disturbed, all of this adds up. And because it's not obvious, it's easy to ignore. But your cat feels it every single day. The good news? Small changes in the environment can create massive changes in behavior, because when your cat finally feels safe in their own space, their entire personality starts to open up. But even in the perfect environment, there's one thing that matters more than anything else, whether you're actually listening to what they've been trying to tell you all along. Number 6, you're missing the signals that matter most. There's a quiet moment that most people overlook. Your cat is sitting nearby, not doing anything dramatic, not meowing loudly, not causing trouble, just there. And yet, in that stillness, they're communicating more than you think. A slow blink, a tail wrapped tightly around their body, ears turning slightly backward, a subtle shift in posture when you reach out. These are not random, they're signals. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Most of the time we don't see them, or worse, we see them and misread them. A cat flicks its tail and we think it's playful. They turn their head and we think they're being moody. They hide a little more than usual, and we assume they just want space. But often, those are early whispers of something deeper. Stress, discomfort, even pain. I once heard about a cat who slowly stopped jumping onto the couch. Nothing dramatic, no limping, no crying. The owner thought, maybe she's just getting lazy. Weeks passed. Then one day, the cat was clearly struggling. A vet visit revealed joint pain that had been building for a long time. The signs were there from the beginning. They were just quiet. And that's the nature of cats. In the wild, showing weakness is dangerous, so they hide it. They soften the signals. They speak in subtle changes instead of loud alarms, which means by the time something feels obvious to you, it's already been happening for a while. And it's not just about physical health. Emotional signals matter just as much. A cat that suddenly becomes distant, or overly clingy, or slightly more reactive than usual. These are not personality quirks, they're messages. But to hear them, you have to slow down. You have to watch, not just look. Notice the small changes, the patterns, the things that feel a little different, because your cat is always communicating, not with words, but with presence. And the moment you truly start listening, you realize they've been talking to you all along. Which brings us to something even more surprising. Some of the most normal things people do can quietly harm their cat without them ever suspecting it. Number 7, you're doing things that directly harm their health. Let's talk about the things that feel harmless, the small habits, the cute moments, the things people do without a second thought, like pouring a little milk into a bowl because cats love milk, right? It looks comforting, almost nostalgic. But here's the truth most people never hear. Most adult cats are lactose intolerant. That small treat can lead to stomach discomfort, bloating, even diarrhea. Not instantly obvious every time, but enough to slowly affect how they feel. And because they can't tell you, it becomes a silent pattern. Something feels off, and you never connect it to that little bit of milk. Then there's something even more surprising, whiskers. Some people trim them thinking they're just like regular hair, but whiskers are not cosmetic. They are sensory tools. They help your cat understand space, navigate in the dark, and feel the world around them in a way we can't even perceive. Cutting them doesn't just change how your cat looks, it disorients them. Imagine suddenly losing a sense you've relied on your entire life. That's what it feels like. I once saw a cat that became unusually hesitant, bumping slightly into objects, moving slower than usual. Nothing was wrong, medically, but its whiskers had been trimmed. The world had become unfamiliar. And then there are the hygiene mistakes. Using strong cleaning products near their food area, not cleaning bowls properly, placing water too close to food, which many cats instinctively avoid. These things seem small, but over time, they affect how much your cat eats, drinks, and how comfortable they feel doing it. And here's the pattern behind all of this. It's not about one big mistake. It's about small, repeated actions that quietly impact your cat's body. Because what feels normal to you can feel confusing, uncomfortable, or even harmful to them. The shift is simple. Start questioning the common things. Because once you do, you begin to see your cat's world more clearly. And when you see clearly, you start caring differently, in a way your cat can actually feel. If there's one thing to take from all of this, it's this. Your cat doesn't need more from you. It needs something different. Less force, less assumption, less human love placed onto a creature that experiences the world in its own quiet, precise way. Because the deepest bond you can build with your cat doesn't come from what you give, but from what you learn to stop doing. If this made you see your cat a little differently, give the video a like and consider subscribing. It really helps more than you think. And I'm genuinely curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Tell me in the comments.